You put the microphone right where it's at. So,
cool.
As you know, you're probably always telling people that eat the mic, mic.
Get closer to it.
Yeah. Twice the shows.
Yeah, we've turned down more jobs in the last 6 months than I've ever turned down in the entirety of Snob Productions.
Holy smokes!
Like, it's just because we just don't have the manpower. A lot of it is we don't have the manpower to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in like peak points, it's a mix of manpower and then just not having enough gear left. So we reach out to a lot of the clients going, hey, like if you're going to do something, we need to know like now.
Yeah. So you're booking out your clients. You're like almost having them sign the contract the moment the gig's over if they want you there next year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of that kind of stuff. Plus just like reaching out to people that have even like hinted that they might want to do something, even 3 months from now, 5 months from now.
Yeah.
Like, well, then you better get it on the books because it's going fast. And it's rough because like we had a brand new client over in Utah that was like, we went to do our entire series. I was like, all right, cool. So we sent them over a quote and they're like, oh my gosh, that's way too expensive. We can't do that. I was like, all right, well, I can't really afford to do it for less. So sorry. And then like 3 days later they called back and they're like, actually your prices weren't that bad. We want to do all of these. And I was like, I'm sorry, everything's already booked out. Like it was that fast. It's gone.
Holy smokes. That's crazy. Sorry, I just got to make a quick adjustment here.
Nah, you're good.
Good grief, man.
So now it's just like trying to keep up with having enough guys.
How many people do you have working for you now?
I've got 15 right now, but I need 36.
Oh, geez. Which is really tough right now because it's just hard to find people to work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've had applications, like things on Indeed and stuff for, I don't know, 4 months now. And I think we've gotten maybe 5 applications, and I think we've hired 2.
Holy smokes.
Like there's
Where is everybody?
I don't know. But I'm like, now we're just like getting creative about it, of like reaching out and not just using like your Indeed scenarios. Like if we have to find temp help or correlating with other production companies to go, cool, we'll keep your guys busy as well.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they're feeling the same influx, so it's hard for them to be like, yeah, let me send 2 of my guys your way. And then
I need 24 and I only have 12.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I mean,
crazy.
And then the prices on it now are just like everybody jacking their price up because they can't get anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So the price just skyrockets.
How does that work for you as far as like how much you're paying people?
We try to make sure we're taking good care of our guys because, I mean, you're asking a lot of them. You're running them hard. Especially
in your field because there's a lot to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the learning curve's big, and then it's it's a lot of physical work as well. Like it's not white glove work where you get to walk in and you're like, oh, I'm the engineer, so I'm going to stand behind the desk.
Right.
It's like, no, you're going to unload that truck and reload that truck and put all this together on site and tear it all down when it's done, and you got to do all of it.
Yeah.
And that's...
I've done a lot of that in my life too. That's just crazy. Well, that's cool that you're taking care of your guys though.
Yeah, I mean, we're a family. Like Snob's always been one of those that we look at it as family. Like we all take care of each other inside and outside of work. Like that's cool. You become very close knit, and we're all like there for each other no matter what.
That's really cool, man. That's super important to have that dynamic at the workplace.
Oh yeah, especially
to keep people.
Yeah,
because that's got to be the hardest thing. The things that you guys do are so intricate that, man, you really need to hold on to the people that you've already trained.
Yeah.
Because you can waste a ton of time retraining people and retraining. It's a whole different monster than teaching people how to like put food together or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a huge dependency on it getting done right.
Yeah. Otherwise stuff gets damaged, or, people get hurt, things like that.
Or you're in the middle of a show and someone didn't do their job.
And it fails.
Yeah. That's crazy. Snob Productions. How did you come up with your name?
So it's actually a piece of artwork. A buddy of mine, Lucas Jankel, we were in high school. We were just out of high school. And he drew the logo, and I think he just broke up with a girl or something, and he was pissed off, and he did a lot of cool artwork. So he drew this girl that looked all snobby and did the little splash behind it with the word snob through it. And I was like, man, that'd make a cool clothing label. Like, that would be slick.
Yeah.
And he was like, nah, kind of tossed it in his closet, and kind of that was the end of it for him. And then a couple months later, he lost his job and couldn't pay his part of the rent. And I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll pay your part of the rent, but I want that for my company logo. I was like, whatever. Okay. So I stuck the word productions under it and looked at that and was like, people will remember that.
Exactly. And that's perfect.
And it took off.
That's really cool. Did you grow up here in town?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I moved back. I think we moved to Junction when I was like 5.
Okay.
So originally I was from Denver.
Oh, okay. What did your parents do over in Denver?
My dad worked for the Department of Transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom was a nurse in ICU.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then at 5, what brought you guys over here?
My dad transferred over here. They wanted to get out of the city.
Gotcha.
So
I don't blame them for wanting to get out of the city.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Oh, man.
That place is...
It's a mess.
Yeah. Do you like going over there for a production?
I enjoy going over to knock things out, like do work and handle a few projects. But then it's like, sweet, we're good. I'm out. It's like, I like the city on like little spurts. Like, I don't want to.
Maybe for a vacation or a trip or something.
Go do something different, see an interesting show.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But to like live there, nah.
Yeah, I totally get that. That place is a madhouse, man. It is, even on vacation and stuff. Well, and it takes so long to get to Denver, too, now. Way longer than it used to.
I don't know. Maybe I just drive fast.
Well, you're probably driving at the right times, too, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, we're early mornings and late nights.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not seeing any of the traffic, really.
You get into any traffic, it's like Tedx on an hour and a half right away. Yeah, it's easily a 5-hour trip now, typically.
Really?
Yeah, it seems like it anyways.
Yeah, I think I'm hitting the right times then.
Yeah, you need to go
I'm driving
during
way
Snob
too fast.
time. How many trucks do you have now?
We've got SL100 mobile stage, and then we got a couple of 350s, and then a Suzuki like 16-foot box truck, and then a 26-foot box truck.
Golly, dude, it's just been so cool to see your company. I mean, we have this conversation every time, but it's just so cool to see your company where it's at. And it's just really taken off in like the last, 7 years or so?
Yeah. There was some key movements that we made. We brought in, we hired a girl by the name of Amy Gibson, and she started kind of keeping things in line, because I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not, like the business side of it is not my passion in it.
Yeah.
And she's really good with that. And then she brought in a guy named Anthony Wilson, that between the two of them, like the business side of it is handled. And so that lets me focus on developing new contracts and working with clients and helping keep the creative aspect of it really moving. And from there, it really opened up.
Yeah, once you got rid of all of that administration stuff
trying to balance all of it. Yeah, trying to balance all that just was burying the creative aspect. Like that whole passion part of it was just being strangled.
And that's a key tipping point too, right? Because you're nervous about taking on those types of employees and paying them and all of that stuff. And so
you got to make it work. It's got to work to where they can survive and have, and that's a big expense.
And keeping them too.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
And it just all is like really gelled and really worked well. Like we all, like I said, we're family. We all take good care of each other. We all look out for each other. And we have a blast, like outside of work, even there's times we'll all go out and like go axe throwing, or, just we all get together and like have a meal and just laugh and goof off, BS about stuff. And
that's cool.
And keep it out like to where it's not just like all about work.
Right. Go have fun.
Yeah.
It's important to keep that culture, a good fun culture like that.
Yeah.
And now you have people that are keeping track of a mass inventory of gear that you have.
Yeah, it's we bought a building, gosh, I don't know, it's been 4 years ago now.
I think so. Yeah, I remember that.
And we're already outgrowing it. Like
You bought that building?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And now I need to find another one. I got to get something bigger because we're running out of room.
Holy smokes.
I mean, it's great in the summertime because it looks like we moved out because there's nothing left in there. But,
oh, right. Yeah, everything's packed up.
Once it slows down, then it's like squeezing everything in.
Yeah, where you put it all.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. And that's really cool how you came up with your name, too. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I started playing with music when I play piano. So I started playing piano by ear when I was like 4 or 5. And then by like middle school, I was already trying to put bands together with my buddies. And then, yeah, I mean, by high school, I was, doing all the dance parties and stuff for the school. And
like DJing?
Mm-hmm.
And providing
Yeah,
like actual DJing, providing the production?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Oh, those were a train wreck. I'm sure somewhere there's some horrific pictures of those.
Oh yeah,
of those setups. Like, 'cause I had a band in high school, and then I'd also do the dances and stuff at times. And I mean, I just had like this mess of different speakers that I'd figured out how to patch them all together to make it work.
Yeah,
and it was,
big heavy things.
Yeah, lots of big heavy boxes and horribly heavy power amps that are lots of PV junk. Hope you're not sponsored by PV because I don't think they're going to like that.
I'm still waiting for that big old sponsor. Actually, I'm getting ready to launch this Monday. So what is today? Today's the 6th. So tomorrow. Yeah.
Nice.
Launching my first one tomorrow. So
cool.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with this. I don't know. I just figure I'm going to try to grind for about 3 years if I can. And then just kind of see where it happens. I don't know. It might fall flat on its face. Who knows?
Well, the only way to find out is dig in and go for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I'm doing. So.
I mean, I say totally go for it. Like,
yeah,
dig in, because it's the only way to find out. Plus, if it's something you really care about and you like, it'll find its way.
Yeah, exactly. I probably communicated this to you before, but like, you've been a really big inspiration to me. I don't know if I've actually said that or not.
Oh, but thank you.
Yeah, you have, because of the success that you've had. Building something from the ground up is, especially in Grand Junction, is not easy. It's not easy to do.
No.
And, I don't know if it's the fact that you hit something, a big need at the right perfect time, or what. So how long has actually Snob Productions been going? Like,
Snob as a business?
Yeah.
I incorporated in 2000.
Okay.
But like right out of high school, like that was what I was going for.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I had to work some other jobs in the meantime because there was no money in it.
Right.
And ultimately I ended up working for another production company that was here at the time called Clarity Concert Sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that company wasn't financially set up in a position where they could actually pay me. So it was work the day job, work for them for free with the understanding that if I did work for them, I got to utilize the equipment for my own projects.
Oh, perfect.
Which, yeah, it was for a little while.
Yeah.
It was until people started going, you know what? We like working with Dave more than we like working with the owner of the gear. Oh. So how do we get Dave and the gear without the other guy involved?
Oh, wow.
Which kind of causes some issues.
Yes.
So after a few rounds of that kind of stuff happening, we had to split ways.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, man, this ain't going to work. Like, it's your gear. You go do your thing. And,
yeah,
it's all good, whatever. And like a year later, he reached out and it's like, I need to sell it. You're the only guy I know that could actually operate it and run it.
Oh, got you. So you bought that.
Do you want to buy it?
Rebranded it.
Yeah. Well, it took a little while because he wanted to sell it. And then when we went to buy it, then he started talking about wanting to do a partnership. I was like, nope.
You're like,
no way.
Yeah.
It's like, I know too much about you. No thanks.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm sure. I got to change out a battery real quick. Sorry.
Cool, man. No problem.
I forgot to change this up. Otherwise, I won't be able to see my monitoring. Beauty of editing.
Yep.
Post-production. Are you warm?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Cool.
Sweet.
So you enjoyed performing,
Mm-hmm.
obviously,
Oh, yeah.
and I mean, I'm sure there was a point where you were like probably enjoyed performing more than doing production work.
You know, I don't know. It was a weird transition of things. And it was more of like, you know, when you're younger, you're like, oh, I'm going to be a rock star. You
Yeah.
know, I'm going to be on tour all the time. I'm going to be, you know, going all over the country and playing in front of massive crowds. And as things progressed, I found myself more and more going, no, like I can build and make all these different things come to life and do different things on every job. It's not the same show every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of fell in love with that. I thoroughly enjoy building like custom pieces, like custom designs for shows. And like,
Explain that a little bit.
so we do a lot of custom prop work too. So we'll do like full set design. And so like the latest one, now that we got the LED wall in,
Oh yeah,
we made robots.
I saw your post on that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So we made some robots for that client. And that's the part that like gets to be fun, is like doing stuff that's completely out of the box from what most people have gotten to see. And like you're going back to what you were talking about of, you know, it's hard to build a business here or like take things up from the ground up. That was definitely the bigger challenge, because when I first started this, you know, I needed like a $15,000 loan.
Mm-hmm.
Was ultimately what I was looking for. And there was not a single bank in this valley that was going to loan it to me. Like every one of them was like, why? And there was one bank that we specifically went to that just was like, what would you need a PA system for? Like they were completely baffled by the whole concept. And their response was, Two Rivers Convention Center has a PA in it. We would just use that. And I was like, I don't think you understand what I'm talking about.
Mm-mm.
And turned out my dad was like getting ready to retire, and stock market wasn't moving in the direction he liked. And he was like, man, if I'm going to lose a bunch of money, I'm going to lose it with one of my kids.
Oh wow,
So
that's a great story.
yeah, so he loaned me the money to get started. He and I have been partners ever since. And he's been awesome. Like he was just like, you're the boss. I'll be the silent partner, and you just stay in communication with me on what it is that you need or how we need to make this work.
Oh wow.
And for a long time, he had helped drive the trucks and stuff around, and now he just kind of does his thing and builds little stuff for me here and there.
Yeah.
But in that process, it was like training the clients to realize, like, hey, you can do more than just use the big open ballroom. Like, we can really open some things up and design some things.
When did you go from just, like, what was the thought process in going from just providing a PA to we're going to build and design things for people as far as like to make the show better?
I think I'd always kind of wanted that.
Okay.
I think the audio was like that was my big passion part of like really being in love with audio and like listening to stuff that actually sounded really good.
Yeah.
But then also realizing, like, you know, that's only one part of the entire event. Like, you got to have good lighting as well. And, you know, you got to have, you know, all these other little aspects and the more that you can bring together, the better it is.
Yeah.
And so I figured out that I started noticing like a trend of, there were some years that the audio side of things didn't have as much draw, like there wasn't as much demand for it. And other times it would need more lights, or other times we'd need more backline equipment. And then there were some years where we just rented out backline equipment, and there really wasn't a whole lot in the other areas. So I found that diversification really was what was keeping me alive.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was also really bad about, like, you know, like I said, I was not the business man. So it was one of those that, like, I was really bad about. I'd see a new piece of gear and be like, oh, I just got paid, you know, like, for doing such and such job. I'm going to buy that. And then I was like, oh crap, I still got to pay the bills over here.
Yeah.
And so that's where Snob
I
really
run into that all the time.
that's where Snob really like kind of took off, was having those key people like Amy and Anthony in the office to go, you know what? No, this is what you can actually spend. I don't know the last time I touched the checkbook. It's better that way.
Yeah.
It's safer. I still get great gear. So,
when did they come on?
let's see. Amy came on about 9 years ago.
Okay.
And Anthony was probably just a couple years behind that.
I remember calling your company up one time, and for some reason, I was expecting you to answer the phone, and it was Anthony. I was like, whoa, okay.
Right.
It was all formal, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm not used to this. I'm just used to calling up, Dave, I need this.
Yeah, we ran into that a lot for a while, where people would be like, I don't want to talk to you, where's Dave?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's not really how this works. Like,
right.
They put that insulation in there, those layers.
It was an adjustment for me, because most of the time I'm coming to you asking for a favor.
Right.
And so it was like, oh, this is real formal. I don't know if this is going to work anymore. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get my favor. But you've always done a really good job of taking care of me anytime I've needed something. So that's been really, really cool.
That is an area that we've tried to like maintain, is realizing that the growth of the company has allowed us to do, really large projects, on a national scale sort of thing. And then to be able to have the grounding to also stay local enough that, if the local bands are coming to us going, hey, we need something, or can you help us with this or that, then to be able to still jump in and help them out and not be like, well, it sucks, we're too big for that kind of thing. It's like, no way. Like, I don't care how large or how small it is, we want to be involved.
Yeah, dude, you saved my ass with that Trump thing, that Trump Jr. thing. That thing was just thrown together to begin with.
Right.
The whole organization of that wasn't necessarily the greatest. And I don't even know. Somehow my dad was like heading that up. And I have no idea how that was, but it was just way bigger than what I even thought it was going to be.
Right.
And so I called you up because I needed a little bit more power, and you were like, you need to do this. So you brought in like your Meyer stacks and everything, which ended up being perfect in what I needed. But goodness gracious, man, like I had my stupid little PA and
oh, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah. So I really appreciated that for sure. So do you play on the piano a ton? Like,
oh yeah.
Do you really?
Well, I don't like go out like show or anything.
Right.
With it, but yeah, I've got a C7 concert grand in my house, and
you're just constantly playing. And you said, did you take any formal training at all?
I tried taking lessons in middle school for a short period of time, and it never really stuck. Like, I think I probably did 8 lessons maybe. Mm-hmm. But in that time frame, also, the piano teacher that I had ended up having a brain aneurysm.
Oh, gosh.
And so that kind of, like, I think she survived that, but, like, it kind of killed the lessons for a long time, and I just never went back.
But you just learned everything by ear.
Yeah, so I just play a lot of stuff by ear, play my own stuff.
Wow.
Which is cool. It's also sometimes very frustrating because, you find yourself in a rut trying to figure out how to play something completely different. Mm-hmm. So I did have a really cool experience this past week. One of the hotels that we were working in, turns out they had a little baby grand piano off in a corner. And it was like, it was probably midnight. And so I went down there, and it was like down in the lowest level of this facility. And it's like, cool, I'm going to go down there and jam for a while. And this guy comes walking by, and he was like, play that last piece again. And I was like, all right. And he comes over, and he sits down next to me, and he's like, I think I see what you're doing here. And he starts playing. He can obviously like really play. And I was like, cool. So then he and I just like had this jam session together.
Are you serious?
And we were just having a blast. And I was like, where are you from? Like, when he was like, oh, I'm from Israel.
Oh, wow.
Like, just happened to be in the hotel, walked by, saw it, and he and I jammed for like an hour. And
Dude,
it was
that's
just like,
so cool.
this was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't jammed alongside anybody in 20 some years. So it was a good time. Like, made my whole week.
Yeah, those are precious moments of life, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So, and I didn't know it was like somebody from that, the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Just like all of a sudden just lined right up.
What was he doing there?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. He just showed up.
He was just walking through and he was on the phone with like his girlfriend or whatever. He's like, hang on. And he like just like set his phone on the piano so she could listen. And like we just sat there and jammed.
Were you just playing like one of your own original pieces then?
We kind of like, he figured out like a chord progression off of what I was doing. And then we just kind of like kicked it back and forth with each other. It was fun. Whoa. It was a lot of fun.
Dude, that's cool. I wish I was good enough with anything to do that musically, but I'm not. I mean, I can sing, but instrumentally wise, I'm not. I'm just kind of a hack, but but it'd be really cool to be able to. I just didn't devote enough time to it, to get really, really good. But
it's always there.
I know. You can always start, right? But the older you get, the harder it is to learn stuff.
People say that. I don't know. I mean, I know like scientifically that it says it's harder for the brain's, neuroplasticity to kick in on it. I think it has a lot to do though with the passion of like what are you wanting to gain out of it? Because if you want to just like if it's something that means something for your soul, I feel like your brain will open up more for it. If you're just doing it because you want to be like, hey, I want to be able to stand up in front of, the people at the bar and just blow everybody away, and it's like this ego trip thing, then your soul's not tied to it. It's going to take a lot longer to try and figure that out.
Gosh, man, that's like philosophy stuff right there. That's really, really cool. Okay, so you're doing all kinds of music. What music do you listen to? Like Dave Wall, what music does he listen to?
I mean, I listen to a lot of stuff, but I think probably the most influential music for me was probably Pink Floyd.
Oh, okay.
I'm definitely a big fan of Pink Floyd. Mm-hmm. It's just very well put together, and it's lyrically it's beautifully put together lyrically, and there's just a lot of depth and dynamic to it. But I think that's another area of like having so many different people that I'm working with, and like within Snob itself, that all have some drastically different tastes in music, that it's opened my eyes up to a lot of different stuff, artists that I would have never even contemplated. I don't know if you've listened to any like Trevor Hall. It's like totally different path of music than what I would have normally like picked out to like check it out.
What genre is it?
I'd almost call it that's like almost like a folk to me.
Okay.
But it's like soulful music, like where you feel like every lyric, like it's really well written.
Oh wow.
So like that's one that I really enjoy lately. Oh gosh, I don't know. There's been a bunch that I've gotten really bad. I think one area that has gotten rough for me, I say this lightly, I find myself like we'll like compile these big playlists, but I don't really connect to each artist. So it's just this list of music that I enjoy, but I don't really know the artist. So like outside of that particular track, as compared to like growing up, I had like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and The Doors, but I like knew every song on every album.
Right.
And that doesn't seem to happen with music as much anymore because it's all readily
singles.
Yeah, it's all readily available too. Like you can just get it anytime you want. So it kind of changes that dynamic.
Culture.
Yeah, it changes that dynamic completely as compared to being like truly like passionately connected to what they're producing. Led Zeppelin, I had like every single album Led Zeppelin ever released. I knew every single lyric, and now it's like you name off an artist and I'm like, oh yeah, I might know one song.
Right.
And that's just it's a really strange shift in the whole music industry, I think.
Well, they've really, gosh, we could get into that conversation if we wanted to. The music industry they've really kind of flipped it upside down. It's
good and bad.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that it's opened up the doors for so many like talented artists that would have never been recognized or seen before. 20 years ago, that was, the idea of cutting an album in your kitchen was like unheard of.
Right.
And now it's like, look at what we're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the whole concept is,
well, it's really interesting because I think technology has opened it up, right? But the industry itself, we're talking the big industry, right? The big dogs that are running it. It seems like it has just narrowed big time, and they're pushing out, just a few. It seems like just. I mean, I know there's multiple artists out there, but you've probably got 30 or 40 big artists. It seems like.
Right,
and
they just don't get the same media attention because it's diversified so much. I feel like
maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
It's so accessible that it takes a lot more like drive to get it to where they rise to the top, where everybody's aware of them.
Maybe that's what it is. But at the same time, everybody knows about them too, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because of social media. So it is. It is different. It is different. But I don't know. I think the music industry is.
It's a different animal.
It is, man. It really, really is. So was there, obviously, as we get older and stuff, most people, you learn to appreciate more things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're very tunnel visioned a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
I know I was very tunnel visioned. So was there a genre you preferred to do in like the younger years of Snob?
Yeah, there was a mix.
Of course, you take every gig you could. I understand that,
right?
But
there's a mix. Like when it comes to just engineering it, like actually mixing a bunch of stuff together, for an event. Symphonic work, like anything symphony wise.
Oh, that's really big though. I mean, that's
those are fun.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like lots of different colors of paint and lots of paint brushes, and you're getting to like help make this whole masterpiece come together.
Yeah.
So anything symphonic was like, that's stuff that I was like, yeah, let's do this.
When did you start getting into that? I mean, because that takes a lot of gear to be able to do something like that.
Well, I mean, for a while I'd cross rent and
okay.
I'd drag a bunch of gear out of Denver and make it happen that way. I think the most we've ever done was like 72 microphones on stage.
Whoa.
So it was.
Whoa.
Yeah, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good time.
Was that being able to be like, I have to outsource and rent? Was that a difficult thing, or was that just kind of in that world of production and stuff? Was that kind of a normal?
It took a little bit of a learning curve of who are the right people to reach out to, who have the right gear, who understands what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and who's willing to teach you, and like actually communicate with you and not just treat you like you're an idiot.
Right.
And
I guess that's the part that I would come into a shell of myself, right? All my insecurities would be flaring up, and that would drive me away from that.
Yeah, so not me. Mine is well, if I want to do it, I got to get it figured out.
Right.
So, but I got to work with some really cool people. I mean, there's this guy out of Denver. His name's Brett Dallin, and the guy's an audio genius. Like he knows what sounds good, and he's got an amazing ear, but he's also like electronically very intelligent. Builds a lot of his own crossovers. Built like entire rigs of his own.
So he's an engineer.
And I mean, he built stuff that was just unbelievable. Like would crush your normal mainstream audio systems. Like you have these big JBL rigs that everybody's like, oh, it's got to be this, and then you hear his stuff, and you're like, no, I want that.
Really?
And it's to this day, like even the rig that's sitting in the Avalon right now, that was a rig that we put in with him.
Oh.
And it's a JBL rig, but it's not. It's been completely hot rodded by him and completely rebuilt.
What does it look like, that rebuilding structure?
Completely different speaker components built into the box, changing over the way the crossovers are set up, the processing like the whole DSP system on it's completely different. He goes through and really puts it together and thinks about what's doing what and what's he trying to achieve with it. And it's a drastic difference. I can't count the number of engineers that are like, oh, okay, it's a Vertec rig that's going to be hanging in there, sweet. that works. They walk in and they fire it up and like, this is not a Vertec rig, and it's so much better.
Wow. So is it basically like taking stock stuff out of it and shoving something else in it?
Yeah,
Almost
it's
like
it's
a hot rod car. Or
exactly.
something.
It's like, you go out and buy a Porsche, but then you go and have that Porsche set to be able to hit the track.
Yeah.
It's like totally different ball game.
Right. I never would have thought, man. I never would have thought that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, when I was first getting started, like I had these like 2 little like Carvin speakers, and I was like, man, these things are the best. Like they sound so great. It's like I love them. And I remember just driving my neighbors crazy with those things.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like once you've dove into that realm,
yeah, and
you realize that there's sonically is so much better equipment out there. It's got a drastically different price tag on it, but
right,
you hear it. It's a totally different animal.
Yeah, let's go into that a little bit. Like when you walk into a place that already has a rig, what are you listening for? What are you hearing that lets you know this has good quality in it?
It's all like the full range of frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to make sure that like the low end is like hitting you in the
beefy,
chest, and
yeah.
like that it sounds tight. You don't have any of like these weird waffly sounds happening, and that works all the way up through to where you don't have like crackling in the top end, where you got like horn drivers that are cracked or anything like that. So you just have to, your ear becomes accustomed and attuned to noticing those things very quickly, and then going, oh, okay, is this an option that we like? Is this something we can fix? And then there's also great programs out there. There's a program called Smart that allows you to also time align and measure what the system's really doing. So you can make adjustments to the PA system, even if it's already in place to where it processes through your system, and you can adjust. Because time alignment makes a big difference.
EQ stuff then, or
it's mixed. It's EQ, it's time alignment. Time alignment makes a big difference. It's also phase alignment. So that
okay, let's dig into that, because that's something that I've always wanted to figure out and understand.
So it's just like like if you got a pond and you throw a rock in it and you see all the ripples go out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you throw a whole bunch of rocks in all at the same time, you distort a bunch of those ripples, as compared to if you can consistently make the same drop at the same right time to where your ripples stay consistent at all times, you're going to have a smooth wave. You're essentially doing the same thing. You're lining up those audio waves to where they all work together in conjunction and in phase with each other, so that you're not having ripples hit ripples and cancel each other out. But it's all in the air, so people can't see it,
right?
But you can hear it.
Yeah, because your audience is coming in, and if it sounds immaculate, it's more of like a feeling that they're receiving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Than it is.
And you'll also get way more clarity and way more power out of the PA system.
So making it efficient too.
It makes it way more efficient.
Gotcha.
Because if you got like your subs and one's out of phase from the other, that can work for you or it can work against you depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're canceling noise on stage, then that's a good thing. Because if you're doing like big hip hop shows, the subs are just hammering the crowd. Well, if you're hammering the stage as well, those poor guys are just getting beat to death.
Yeah.
Every night.
Right.
So if you can then force all that energy out the front side of the box, so it goes just into the audience, and it cancels it out going behind the box, then you've basically made the artist's life a whole lot better.
Right.
And you can get a lot more volume out of the PA because you just put all that energy in the area you want it.
So how are you doing that on stage? Yeah. How and like create a scenario then for us so that, okay, so you've got your subs typically, right? Your subs are either under the stage or right at the stage or something,
mm-hmm.
right? So if it's really smacking the people on stage, what do you do then to?
Well, so initially, even before like anybody else is even there, it's all about how you set your subs up, how far apart. Sometimes you'll stagger your subs to where you'll have like a box here and a box here and firing this way, and you'll time align things to where this wave actually triggers and goes through this one.
Does that create like a compounded?
Yeah.
Compounds the sound too?
Yeah, well, it combines the energy, but it also, you can set it up to where the waves work together, or one will cancel out the blowback from the other, so that you're not hitting the stage. there's also ones where you stack the subs on top of each other and one's inverted. You time align that.
Oh, wow.
So it looks like you'll see it at really large concerts. You'll notice that like every other sub box is backwards. But that's because it's firing, you're phase reversing and time aligning that way so that it cancels everything out behind the box and it pushes everything the other direction.
It makes so much sense, but I just never would have thought that.
Yeah, there's a lot of physics in it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than just throwing a couple speakers on sticks and cranking it up. We do lots of that.
Sure.
But
that's all I ever do.
we do tons of that. There's the right markets for different areas and different, how deep do you need to dive into whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. But when you're doing, 96,000 people at Country Jam, you're going to want it to hit the audience and not destroy the stage.
Right. Let's segue into Country Jam.
Yeah.
You landed Country Jam in 2018?
Let's see. It was 2019.
So, that's right. You did your first Country Jam and then COVID just came in.
COVID came in, shut it down. And it sold at the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Town Square had it. We got the contract, did the first year. It was supposed to be a 3-year contract. And then, actually, while we were out there doing the job, it was bought by Live Nation. And then then COVID hit, so we didn't get to do anything.
Right.
And there was no real talks as to, like, where's this all going? Is the contract still valid? Where are we all at? And then we ended up meeting with the Live Nation guys, and that all worked out really well. They were a lot of fun to work with. They're good people.
Were you nervous at all about that?
It's one of those that's kind of, it was kind of out of my control. So it was kind of one of those of, if they're going to want my help, they'll come, then we'll figure this out. If they've gone a whole different direction and it's completely off the table, then I'll just keep plugging along and see what we can do to redevelop that relationship and get it again later.
Yeah. Because I'm sure, once you landed that contract, you're planning for 3 years, so you're probably buying gear.
Oh,
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
a little bit.
So, that was probably a difficult, challenging time, I'm sure.
It was definitely an uncomfortable scenario at first, and more of it with the COVID side, because like you said, we're trying to gear for each year as it's coming down the pipe, knowing what's like a year or so out.
Right.
Going, okay, we got to budget accordingly, and we dropped like $150,000 on equipment right before COVID hit. It was like the worst Christmas presents ever. I can't imagine. To have all of this expensive gear showing up, you can't send any of it back. Everything's shut down. Nobody wants to turn around and think of the idea of taking a refund.
Right.
They don't want to let go of that money. They're trying to survive too.
Yeah.
And knowing that this gear is just going to sit there and it's not going to move.
Yeah.
Was really uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Man. But it's worked out. So
it worked out great, on the fact that the instant things started coming back, we had all the gear that we needed.
Right.
And it picked up real quick.
And you probably knew how to use it because you spent all that downtime, learning it. And yeah. And getting your crew to learn it all. And
building things and making sure that we were organizing and putting stuff together in a fashion that the instant the gates opened, we were ready to go.
You guys are running. That's really cool. Very cool. So was Country Jam the biggest production that you had done as Snob Productions? Because I'm sure you probably helped out with a lot of real big productions, but
that the 2019 contract was probably the biggest, physically the largest one we'd ever taken on, to be overseeing every aspect of it for the production part of all that. There's a whole lot of people involved in that project to make that thing come to life. It's definitely.
Was that something that you inspired to do?
I wanted to take that contract since I was in high school. I remember going out there and being I will run this at some point.
And here you are.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
It's a really good feeling.
That is so awesome.
I had no idea what I was thinking at that point. Young and dumb, I'd have been
Yeah.
If I'd have been told, yeah, you got this job, I'd have been so over my head. But the life experience of the last 20 years of being in business, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's do it.
You made it.
So
that's really cool, dude. What a great story. What a great story. How did that even go down when you were like, okay, I'm putting my hat in the bucket?
Well, I'd actually put my hat in the bucket twice before.
I'm sorry, I didn't say that right. Put your name in the hat.
I like the hat in the bucket. That sounds fun.
Right.
I'd actually stuck it in twice before. They'd reached out and said, hey, we'd like to get a bid and just see where the numbers land. And we could never get the numbers to line up for the first couple of years. And then in conjunction with a couple of other people and other companies and stuff that we were cross-running and working with on, we were able to get the numbers into a spot that they were like, okay, let's do it.
Wow.
And it felt really good to be like, cool, like we can make this into something. We could really make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
And having it on a 3-year term was a big part of that as well. So that was a little uncomfortable when it sold. We were like, what does that mean? Where's this going to go? Because we were banking on that 3rd year being where we really make money on it.
Oh, yeah.
And
right, because you got to make up for everything that you just purchased. Because that's when you bought all your Meyer stuff too, wasn't it?
No, we'd been at Meyer's house for, I don't know, 10 years or so now.
You had those Meyer stacks for that long already?
We've actually cycled through a number of them. So
I can't believe because I remember when you first posted that you got that stuff. And I was like...
So I wonder if that was the first rig that you saw or the second. Maybe the third.
The line arrays?
Mm-hmm. So...
like the big line arrays that you brought in for the Trump thing. Because I think you had just had those, didn't you?
I'm trying to remember which ones I used for the Trump one. Was it the big boxes?
That would have been 2016, right? Yeah.
Like, how big were the boxes roughly? Do you remember?
4 foot, probably by...
Okay, so that was the Micas then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one wasn't 10 years ago then. Because we started off with the Minas, which were they're like this big.
Which are killer.
Yeah, those things rock.
Yeah.
They're super versatile.
Mm-hmm.
You can stick those things anywhere. And they just do a great job.
Yeah.
And then, now we've got the Micas as well. So we've got a handful of Lenas now. And then Micas. I think we got like 20 boxes of each. And then...
that's so much production. So great.
And then we've got a whole nother rig now that's Outline. And
Outline?
Yeah, it's another company. So it's Outline. We got a GTO, Butterfly, and Mantis rig. And, I mean, that's like Red Rock size.
Oh.
Like those are big boys.
Yeah. So cool.
It's good stuff. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet that was probably... Did you guys, like, pop the champagne and stuff when you signed that Country Jam contract?
Actually, I think I spent a decent chunk of money sending thank you. I sent a bottle of tequila to a buddy of mine that helped negotiate the contract.
Okay.
And then the guy that was in charge, like the overall guy in charge of Country Jam at the time, I sent him a couple of bottles of wine. I'm sure I probably had a drink or two. And celebrated in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was more just like that inner joy of like, yeah, I finally got this one, and we're gonna make this happen.
That's really cool. So, are you doing any other big productions like that then?
We'll start communicating about Country Jam here again here in the next week or so, and then we've got a couple of other projects. Like we just did X Games. Did a bunch of stuff for them and ESPN. And we've done some stuff for National Geographic lately. And
what'd you do for National Geographic?
They did a bunch of stuff for the Film Fest up in Telluride, and so we did a big party for them.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun. They do a lot of fun stuff. They're cool people.
Their pockets go pretty deep.
Yeah. It's more about just like being able to make sure that we hit what it is that they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes it fun. Is it's not so much about like what can they afford. It's more of like what's their vision, and the numbers kind of are an afterthought of like, okay, cool, as long as we know the numbers are going to line up to what they're asking for, then great.
Right.
But being able to work with people in different teams that'll let you get creative,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably my favorite part of the prop aspect of things and like the design aspect of things, is having clients that have a vision and are realistic with their budget to be able to go, hey, we want to do something in this theme. And then they'll come back like a month later and go, what can we do? And let us just go nuts with it. Because then you get really creative. Then that's when we get to build really wild stuff.
Who's heading up that creative stage design stuff? Is it you?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you really like to do.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Especially when you get to, see things across, globally now. It's really easy to see what's going on globally,
Mm-hmm.
and then be like, wow, that's cool. How do I put that together and make something like that happen? Let's talk about the X Games. I mean, that was really cool.
X Games was fun. We worked with there was a couple other companies involved. So one company built the actual stage framework, and then there's a totally different company that did the front facade of the stage
Mm-hmm.
to make it look like a boombox.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And then we stuck the DJ on top of the boombox, and then we had them cut out the speaker holes and where the tape deck would be on a boombox, and we hung an LED wall behind it, and then video mapped it to make the speakers look like they were bumping, and do all kinds of crazy geometrical designs and weird stuff, and then we'd throw video clips in the tape deck part, and then we could go back to live stream as well, to where whatever was being pumped out from the actual half pipe or any other location on the hill, we could then fire that onto the screens as well, so people that were standing there could watch.
That's so cool.
It was fun.
And then the robots were built out of the screens.
Yeah, so that was a different project. That was a Ski Sync project.
Ski Sync?
Ski Sync's a company that puts together like college retreats to ski resorts
Okay.
all over the world, and they basically take like all your like largest business schools and things like that, and they put these trips together.
Okay.
But at each one of those kind of trips that they put together, they contract with us to do like all their different events and different parties. So then we work directly with the students. They basically go, those are ones where they go, we want to do, we want to do, this kind of theme, and 80s, or we want to do a big, jungle theme or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And then we'll go through and work with them to build all this stuff and put it all together to where it opens up their eyes to what all we can make happen. And so, yeah, the one with the robots, they want to do an 80s party. And we're like, well, how about we do some like the 80s style, like boxy robots? And we'll have them like looking around the room and doing weird stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, let's do it. So we did. It was fun.
That's really cool. That wasn't the first time you've done X Games, though. You've been doing X Games for a while, right?
No, we did. We helped out with some of the after party stuff with X Games like 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then we really hadn't touched much with it since then.
Oh, okay.
Like we'd help supplement stuff, like little bits and pieces of stuff here and there, but nothing where we were like directly like on site the whole time and
Mm-hmm.
putting together any sort of substantial.
Because
production.
that was the main stage, wasn't it?
Yeah, so there's like the main viewing stage, and then directly behind that was like the main stage for like entertainment value.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were in charge of all that.
Oh, that's really cool.
And they were fun to work with. They were really good. Like everybody involved was really good. I think that is one area that I will say COVID, I think, helped the industry. Is for years it's always felt like a lot of the production companies are different, audio engineers and lighting guys, and there was a lot of like so much super ego involved
Mm-hmm.
that you would bump into these guys that would just like bark orders all the time and treat everybody like crap, and their poop didn't stink kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just like so much ego in it. And I think COVID kind of knocked that out of the way because everybody got knocked into the dirt.
Yeah.
And nobody that was able to do a job wanted to have to deal with that on top of the stress of what they've been going through. So I feel like that kind of put everybody in check and
Yeah.
kind of grounded a lot of people.
Yeah.
Of, hey, like there's 1,000 guys out there looking to do a job. They're all chomping at the bit to be able to do what they love doing. So if you want to be a jerk, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of killed a lot of that, because I don't think we had a single egotistical argument or flare up of any kind on that entire project. And there's multiple companies involved. And usually when you start getting, multiple design teams and multiple people involved, somebody's going to have their ego hurt or feel like their toes got stepped on.
Mm-hmm.
And with this, it was like completely it was like silk.
Wow.
Like everybody was just like, cool, what can we do to help each other? And, they'd never worked with us before. We'd never worked with them. And usually that kind of has everybody kind of going, is this guy going to do his part? Because that's all heavily dependent on him doing his part, this person doing their part.
Yeah.
So to see that all not be the case and not have to worry about any of that, and just everybody be able to enjoy it, and
everybody had fun.
Everybody had a great time.
Yeah. Wow.
But I've noticed that across the board on a lot of different events and a lot of different concerts and everything, where there's not nearly as much of that arrogancy and that attitude in it, which I think is good.
I think it's great,
because that's definitely the harder part of the business, is dealing with I'm the most important person in the room, so deal with it.
Yeah, those guys are such buzzkills. That's really interesting.
Kind of just put everybody in their place of, hey, nobody's invincible.
Yeah. Are you starting to see, because of COVID, there's fallout everywhere, right? Like, it was kind of a really good time for some good turnover, I would say, because a lot of people probably worked with certain companies all the time, and then there was fallout. And were you able to pick up any of that?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the area that we're in right now. Is there was a lot of companies that didn't survive, and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
We're super thankful that we were able to survive it. But it also changed that entire flow, I think, for a lot of promoters to realize that there's other options out there, or to dive in to try and find new clientele to work with, for new vendors for their production needs. And that opened the doors up for a lot of companies to be able to oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, we can jump in and we can help. The influx of that, though, has also caused that issue of twice the number of shows and half the number of guys.
Yeah.
And I think the bad part of COVID is I think it crushed a lot of people in the way of, not just on a business level, but an emotional and a passion level of, you've got a guy that spent, good majority of his life building this career, and it's a pretty specific and pretty specialized skill set. It's not you don't just go into any town and become a sound engineer. It's, it's not like being a plumber.
Right.
And, I did the plumbing thing. You can pretty much go anywhere and do plumbing and find work.
Mm-hmm.
And to turn around and have it just completely wiped off the map for a solid year and a half,
mm-hmm.
and then expect people to just dive back into that, it's going to take a while for that to build back up of people that have that passion and
mm-hmm.
drive for it. And I think that's where we're all struggling right now, is finding people that really want to do this.
Yep.
And they're out there. It's just making it to where they feel like they can do it, and that they can do it and make a living and survive, and not have to worry about, oh crap, next season all the show's going to go away again.
Right. Boy, just such an unstable time.
It's very interesting.
I do know, though, that it was kind of for a lot of people, it was a good restart too.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of people that were hanging on to some businesses and things that they, always on the fence of whether they were going to keep doing it or not. And so it really kind of was okay,
flushed it all out.
Yeah, you're done, and then here's a starting point, because once you're in a rut, it's really easy just to stay in that rut. And but I know some people that really, they lost it all, right? But it allowed them to
redevelop.
Yeah, redevelop and do something different, completely different.
Well, and even for Snob, we took that time to completely redesign the way Snob operates. The way we described it, gosh, it's weird to think about now. the way we described it at the time was it was like trying to change out spark plugs while the engine's running, and you can't.
Right.
And so that was like the spot we were in of, pre-COVID. We were just running like crazy, and we're doing all these jobs and all this stuff, but there's so many areas that we wanted to do differently and to make more efficient and to make all these adjustments to how the entire workflow works. And there was just no way to slow it down without jeopardizing other contracts or, messing things up for clients. And so it was that engine was just too busy running. So to be able to shut the engine off for a while, it allowed us to do a lot of maintenance of like how we function internally as a company and what we can do better and make more efficient. And it's made a big difference.
Well, yeah, you guys are really setting up now to...
It's good.
Yeah. How many shows do you have booked this year already?
Oh.
Or, I mean, not already, but like, because you're probably booked out, I'm assuming.
We've got stuff all the way into 2023. That's already like locked in, ready to go. That's cool. The season kicked off way early this year. Like normally,
because of X Games or what?
No, like normally it's like it slows down in the wintertime and it's steady, but it's not like crazy. Mm-hmm. And we started getting crazy like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And normally that doesn't pick up until like May.
What were you guys booking out?
Everything. Like
probably because people were just so eager to
it's
going
all over the place. And it's also corporate work. There's a lot of companies that are trying to do things as well. The entire dynamic shift of not being able to have as many people together at times has also opened up a whole new range of like online stuff. So the project I just did while I was over in Denver was for CALP, CFVGA, and the FFA Foundation. Mm-hmm. So it's 3 big entities that all came together and did these big conferences, but they also have people that they need to be able to communicate with over in Montrose. And so we set up 2 video walls and then sent another video wall to Montrose. And we did basically a Zoom call on crack. Like it was like on steroids, It was a massive Zoom call. And they were able to ping pong back and forth.
Like, did you have cameramen that would like zoom in on people then, or
no? So we set up a couple of cameras on both sides, and then we like set it up through capture cards and basically open up a big Zoom call. But it takes like 3 computers per side to be able to make that work, or 4 computers per side.
How'd you learn to even do that?
Well, it was a mix of things. I've had employees that were very savvy with this kind of stuff that helped like kind of get our training wheels on. Mm-hmm. But also with COVID hitting, like online became a major thing of like, that's what kept like churches alive and schools and all that. So we found ourselves helping a lot of people. I mean, I can't count the number of churches that we like loaned a bunch of equipment to just so they could survive. Mm. And that's all come back where now they're, now it's like a permanent part of their whole process. Yeah. And so now they're buying equipment from us in order to make sure that they can follow through with what they've developed and have the in-person. So it opened up a whole nother realm of things there. And within that, then you've got all these corporations that are going, hey, we need to be able to do meetings like this as well. And we need to do it in a large scale to where we can have a lot of people in the room, but also have a lot of clients on the other side too, and be able to directly communicate.
How many people were involved in that or were participating in that big Zoom call?
Like as in like the patrons for the event?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One side had, I don't remember if it was 400 or 700 people in the room, and then the other side was probably 150 people.
Dang, man. Close to 1,000 people on a Zoom call.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
So do you have like this like IT nerd staff member then that takes care of all that stuff? I use the word nerd.
Oh yeah,
as
it's a compliment.
It is, yeah, absolutely, yes.
We've definitely had some very IT savvy individuals, and then I mean there's a lot of that also if you take the time to dive in and learn it, you can figure it out.
Good on you, man.
It is
because
it is a learning curve, though.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's fun. I mean,
but you you thrive off that stuff, huh?
yeah, I enjoy. I think that's the part that makes it really interesting, is like doing like the creative, abstract side of like prop design and set design stuff, but being able to incorporate that with the technical aspect of things of, how do you want to make that move and how do you want to light that up?
When you got those panels, it must have just completely opened up your world.
Yeah, it was. We were able to build half of the video wall in the shop, because it's the entire thing is 108 panels that we've got currently, and we could only build half of it in the shop because we just don't have enough ceiling height.
Right.
And
how big does that thing get?
That'll go 28. It's like 28 wide and 16 tall, or yeah, it's more than that. But I mean, it's a big one.
Yeah.
And it's
and I mean, you can always make it bigger.
Yeah, we can expand upon it, plus we can divide it up. So we specifically bought that one to do to where we could break it up into 3 video walls, so that we could move it around as needed and work with multiple clients at the same time, not just be stuck with just one option.
How did you do your research on what company to go with that?
So the video wall is technically, it's owned by a company called JUCO. So it's myself and 2 other partners. And then basically Snob operates, manages, maintains, and makes the whole thing function. But one of the guys on that team for Django did all the digging on it and was like, I think this is the one we want. And I think he made a good call on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because that's a big investment, and the way that technology comes out so fast, it's really tough to throw a bunch of money at something when next year is going to be not obsolete, but like on its way out.
Right. Yeah. So we specifically, when we made that particular purchase, it was to make sure that not only would it be something that would last for a decent amount of time, but also that the flexibility was there to adapt and change with it. And that particular product line is pretty slick.
Cool.
And you can even do stuff with that where you can change out video panels while the wall's set up with like the individual little cards.
Wow.
Like on the fly if you needed to, without having to major issues.
That's the way to do it. Like everything's, and maybe I'm not quite understanding, but it's nice that they're at least making technology now with like firmware updates and things like that, where they can digitally change and upgrade things rather than, the actual structures themselves and how they work.
Well, and the nice thing on the structure side of it is so much of it now is built modular. So you can, like I was saying, you can take 5 screws out and pop the little individual quarter panel pieces out, swap it out if you have one that went bad or anything, and do that while it's all constructed, where some of the older models you had to dismantle the entire panel system to get down to that panel to pull it out.
I can't even imagine.
And you don't have to deal with that kind of crap anymore, which is great.
Yeah. How what's like the high definition of that panel?
That one's just at 3 mil, or a little over 3 mil.
Holy smokes. So it's pretty darn clear.
Yeah, it's
like even when you're right up to it, is it still pretty clear?
Yeah, so like from me to you, it's pretty clear.
Wow.
So it's really, really gorgeous. You get like 10 feet away from it, 15 feet away from it, and it's gorgeous.
Like 4K quality at that point.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
dude, that's rad.
Yeah, it's really fun.
And those
are
the things that you do your research on, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want. I mean, you want it to look spectacular.
We want it to look visually stimulating for as long as possible, knowing that the technology will change. Like, it'll get tighter and tighter. I mean, you can get down to like a 2 mil wall, but the price on it's going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
But that price will come down over time.
I mean, yeah, like in a year.
Yeah, like used to be like the 5 mil wall was like that, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And before that it was like 6 or 8 mil, and those were ones like, you better be 50 yards away from it for it to look like something.
Right.
It's just really wild.
That's crazy. Making sure I get all my things. Oh, yeah. What's one of the most fun, maybe your most favorite show that you've ever been a part of?
Ooh.
I know you've done a lot, but like, were you just...
For the longest time, my favorite project to work on was, there used to be a festival up in Silverton, Colorado called the Silverton Jamboree. And...
Which I'm assuming wasn't too huge.
It wasn't like Country Jam or anything, but
right.
I mean, it was a decent sized festival.
Okay.
And it was a blast. We set up a small PA system under the tent, and it was like a big circus tent looking thing.
Uh-huh.
And then outside the tent, we set the big PA and then time-aligned it. So then everybody outside the tent got the big PA, and all your VIPs were under the tent.
Mm.
And they just brought in great artists. Everybody had a great time. It was always just like a lot of fun, and just the energy of that entire festival every year was just a kick. And we worked with some great artists. Like, that was the first time I'd worked with Victor Wooten.
Oh, wow.
Was in Silverton.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
Like, they just did a really good job with it. It was a lot of fun. I was really sad when that festival went away.
Was it because of COVID or?
No, politics get involved on things at times, and eventually things, everything kind of has its lifespan, which is a hard lesson to learn at times, where you're like, but no, this is so good. We should keep doing it. And it's like, things change. It's okay. It's all right. More stuff will grow.
What was your favorite artist to work with?
Man, that's a tough one.
Like from management, from the artist to the management to everything.
Gosh. I don't know. We get to work with some really cool people.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the most personable.
Yeah, let's go that route.
The Smothers Brothers were a real kick to work with.
No way, really?
Yeah, they were really cool. They were a lot of fun to work with. Sonny Landreth, he's a monster guitarist.
Okay.
He was always really cool. Myself and Sonny Landreth and his guys, we did a show with them, and like we ended up sitting backstage and just like telling war stories about weird stuff that we'd had to deal with in production.
Yeah. And
laughing about different jobs, because by that point he and I had worked together on a number of different projects, and one of the first jobs that I worked with him on, he backlined an amplifier from us, but he bypassed the power amp of the guitar amp and used his own head and just melted this thing down. Like the he is a monster on the guitar.
Yeah.
And ended up just destroying this rig. But it was like, it was so much, like the show was so great. It was so much fun that by the end of it was like, I really wasn't that upset. I was like, that was almost worth it.
Yeah.
And so he and I had a really good laugh about that.
What actually happened to it?
It just melted the speakers down by the end of the show. Like it was done.
Really? Was it like smoking and anything, or?
No, just like it just cooked him.
Wow.
But I mean, he was ripping on that thing. It was loud.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get a chance, check out Sonny Landreth's stuff.
Sonny Landos? Landreth. Okay.
Yeah, he does some really cool stuff.
Okay.
And he's a beast on the guitar.
Where's he out of? Do you know?
He's out of like Louisiana, I want to say.
Oh wow. Okay.
But yeah, they're just super tight band, and they're awesome. They're a good time, but just good people, and then. Gosh, like Andrews Osborne and Samantha Fish, and like we had to work with them every year in Telluride for the Telluride Blues and Brews Festival, and they just put on a hell of a show individually, and then they come together sometimes and they'll do like a big jam session with the two of them, and those shows are just amazing. Those are fun to mix because it's just the energy is so great.
Wow. Is Telluride the most fun mountain town jam that you do?
I think so. I think Telluride Blues and Brews is probably my new actually functioning festival that's still around right now that I thoroughly enjoy.
How long you been doing that one?
Gosh, that's a good question. I think we started doing that 8 or 9 years ago.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And now you're coming in with all your fancy designs, set designs and stuff.
Yeah, that one we actually do video mapping on.
What is video mapping? What does that mean?
So that's where you'll take video projection and you can, so like we'd take like a picture of like you sitting on this chair and we would lay that image back over you. So we would project onto the chair of you and everything. And then we can make things move and change it and manipulate it. So it changes the picture, but it makes it look like it's doing other things. A lot of times you'll see it on buildings where it makes like the building look like the bricks are moving around and doing things like that.
Oh, no way.
So you can do some really fun stuff with it.
Gosh,
so we
man.
do that for Blues and Brews. We take a photograph of their backdrop and then reproject onto it and manipulate the backdrop.
Makes it different all the time. Dude, that's really, really cool. That's cool. So what's next, man? Like, what do you aspire to do now?
Build weirder and bigger shows.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so if Country Jam was kind of one of those pinnacle moments, I guess, I don't know, you like an arrival of some sort.
Yeah.
I don't like using that word a lot, but in this sense, like, you're not gonna just stand on the fact that you've arrived. You're gonna keep moving forward, right?
Yeah, you can't sit static. That's how you die.
What is that? What is that next Country Jam contract?
I don't know if there's a specific contract out there that I'm aspiring for.
Yeah, like event or something.
But I mean, there's different things that I want to achieve in the way of like different set design pieces and different things that I think now it's like a lot of developing different relationships that allow me to play in those areas more, and finding those avenues. There's a lot of like 3-dimensional design stuff that I want to play with. With like the LED wall stuff, but also like holographic stuff, things like that I really want to open up to this area and like let people see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, right now it's you either go to like Vegas or Denver or, some other large city to see anything like that. Mm-hmm. And even then it's like a special one-off, or like an in-house show that lives in that venue. Mm-hmm. So for us to be able to pull that kind of thing and make it happen, we've done some interesting stuff with playing with visual effects that people haven't really seen here before.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we're interested in like opening people's eyes up yet again.
Right. Which is crazy because, Grand Junction is a different place, and
it's about
so
10 years behind.
And well, I mean, maybe the whole Western Slope. The mountain towns probably obviously create lots of opportunity. And
yeah, so in different areas,
yeah, but I mean, you're growing and growing and growing and growing. But it's kind of cool that at least you have the mindset of I want Junction to be able to still experience good stuff,
Yeah.
No,
I want it to where anybody at any point in this valley could go to an event and actually be wowed and feel like they got transplanted to a completely different area, or, into a whole different space, and not just like walking into like the same old room.
Right. Which you've done a lot with at Two Rivers.
Yeah.
Like I've walked into that place multiple times and just like, holy smokes, man, this place is awesome.
That's the fun part of doing design and set, developing an entire look is especially in an area like this where everybody's been in the building. Right. They've seen the space. They know what it looks like.
Yep.
And to walk in and make them feel like they're in a completely different world.
Which is needed here.
Yeah. But it's like feeling that energy come off the people of like, oh wow, like where am I?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the part where like you hear that and you're like, yeah, all right, we did it.
We did it. Yeah. I was just going to say, you should create your own Snob Fest. You should, man.
We've talked about doing some more, like start doing booking and stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. What's your hesitation with that?
It's
like
a
red tape type stuff? Or
no,
what?
it's more of it's a lot of work to do it right. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of risk. And I'm already running at half the staff that I need.
Well, that's
So
true. Yeah.
So to like suddenly throw an additional workload on top of everybody it could be a dangerous move. So
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but it's one of those I want to make sure that I'm not jumping the gun.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know. We have such mild winters here. It wouldn't be too hard to do it like sometime, like late November or something like that. I don't know. But
Yeah. And we're playing with some ideas. We'll keep
okay.
you in the loop.
Okay. No spoiler alerts. That's really, really cool.
It's more about having the right team of people together to make things happen.
Right. Which is difficult to do right now. I think it's getting better.
It'll get better.
Yeah.
It'll definitely get better.
Yeah. Especially since all of a sudden COVID's completely gone now. So for some odd reason, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But Dave, thank you so much, man.
Absolutely, man. This has been a blast.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, and thank you for your time.
Oh,
I know
absolutely.
that your time is very valuable.
Thank you for your patience. I know this was like constantly like throwing a dart in the dark and hoping that you were going to hit something.
That's okay. And it's interesting because as I started to build all of this and start to put it all together, I knew that this was going to be the case a lot of times, just trying to get people. I mean, you're just trying to get more and more people, right? And so I knew that it'd be hard to land sometimes. And I already had a lot of people, like you were one of the ones from the very beginning. I was like, I really, really want to get Dave in here.
Cool.
And yeah, because the whole focus is, trying as much as I can to focus it around Grand Junction or Western Slope, and just talk about things that are going on here. And hopefully maybe this ends up being like a cool hub for people that want to come in to promote, or anything like that, because maybe there's a big following. That's the hope anyways. So,
nice.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, one thing. You need to get me a backstage pass to Country Jam.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. More so, not that I can just come in and enjoy Country Jam, but I want to experience the production side of what you do. I want to see it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm not trying to look for like a free ride into Country Jam or anything like that.
No, I'd like to see the other side of that coin.
I do, yeah. And probably more than anything, maybe come in while you guys are building it up and stuff, and just to see it, to kind of experience that.
I'm sure we could make that happen.
Yeah, that'd be really, really cool.
I did that for my brother. So I've got an older brother, Mike, that he and I, we went on a bunch of hikes and stuff through COVID, and we were talking about it, and he had mentioned this comment of like, well, why wouldn't you just go get a different job? And I was like, well, you don't understand. Like I tried to find a way to put it into perspective for him. I was like, think about meeting your soulmate, like, and you can see her, you know everything about her. She is everything you've ever dreamed of. And about the time that you really think that like things are going to connect and you've got the life of your dreams, you see her just get shut off in like this glass box, and she is completely out of reach, but you can see her. You can make eye contact, but you have no way to touch and reach and like hug and embrace. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's there. So you can't just move on.
Right.
They don't just pass away and they fade. They're still right there. You just can't touch and you can't reach. And I said, you know what you need to do? You need to come out to Country Jam, and I will take you backstage during the show. And when you stand on that stage and feel the wall of energy that comes off the crowd and hits the stage when the band's just rocking it, I go, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. And so I took him and his daughter out there and toured them around throughout it. And it was a very emotional point for me because my brother had no idea prior what it is that I really do.
Oh, wow.
Because the way our ages lined up, he was like off at college when I was trying to get this started.
Uh-huh.
And then he moved away and was like doing his own, living life. So it was always just Dave's doing an event.
Yeah.
But what does that really
my
mean?
My little brother's.
Yeah, I don't know, he does stuff.
Yeah.
What does that mean? So it's for him to actually get to come out and like see a large scale production of what it is that we're working on. It was emotional for me as well, but I think it opened his eyes up dramatically, and I know it opened his daughter's eyes up. Because at one point the headliner was getting ready to go on, and I brought him out to front of house, and they're watching all of this. The stage goes to black, and you don't really see anything. And I was like, oh, you might want to, if you want to video into this, you want to get your phone up now. And so she's got her phone up there, and she's waiting for this to come to life, and it opens up with all of this production, and you just see the phone just drop, and her face was just like, I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's what this is about.
Yeah. Wow.
And so after that, it was like, totally different dynamic, totally different world for them. Of like, oh, Dave says he's working on something. Like he's working on like doing stuff that impacts people.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So it's cool.
Oh man, that's a great story. That's a really cool story. I really appreciate that. Well, man, let's wrap this up. Thank you so much.
Cool,
Again,
man.
Thanks for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. This has been fun.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you out there, and I'm looking forward to that experience at Country Jam.
All right. Just stay in touch with me.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man.